Atomic Heart is a game developed by a rather large group of either turkey or grease fish on the island of Cyprus, an island of which is in a constant war with itself over who owns the area's grass clippings. And after not winning the war of who's gonna touch grass first, they decided to make this game with the intent to poke fun and show some insight as to just how evil and powerful Russia could be if they actually won something. What a turn of events. Set in the year of our old, that being the 1950s, a time in which man was singing way too much of Fly Me to the Moon, Disney was becoming a global superpower, as per usual, and it's also when your mother was becoming somewhat cool. Sorry I hurt your feelings. But that's not important. What is important is that during the 1950s, after Russia's completely fictional and not real at all win during World War II, the Soviet Union and the USSR became a global superpower. For real this time. And is now leading the world in almost every way. But most importantly, technology. From implants to link people across the world and enslave robots like this is Cyberdunk 2070 Cuck. Creating organisms to survive on other planets because why wouldn't you? And much more. During this exciting journey, we follow the adventures and struggles of Perry the Platypus 3 on his quest to stop a group of villains known as the Russian Mafia from destroying Collective, an insanely powerful neural network that would help bring the world together alongside robots. Turns out, however, that there is something much more sinister going on behind the scenes, and the plan quickly spirals out of control. Because you're in Mother Russia, baby, and nothing goes right in Russia, no matter how hard you try. Look at the Soviet Union as the evidence. This game isn't that old, much like Russia's military, and when I heard that it had some rather strange things in store, like Russians, obviously, as well as a weird sexual talking upgrade machine, several different hot babes, as well as a soundtrack that actually goes kinda hard, I had to take some time off to sit and play this special title. It's only special because its contents are all Russian, and if I don't play it, then I will be bombed by tomorrow morning, either by a real bomb or why Putin. So sit back and relax as I play Atomic Heart, a game that comes from a new studio in the gaming scene, and from a country that no one could have expected. A game that, for being your studio's first game, it quite frankly did a great job of putting the studio on the map, and to be able to do that on your first release in today's market is an impressive feat. Will I make it through the game before the Russians, or in this case I'm gonna guess the Cyprus Mafia, comes and kills me? Is this game a sleeping gem in disguise? There's only one way to find out. This is Atomic Heart.
Boss?
There's not exactly too much going on with this game from a gameplay perspective, and normally, this is where I would start most of my videos, is with the gameplay. But because Cyprus Grass and Company is actually making gameplay simple and straight to the point, I can turn this into my favorite segment in my videos, that being the lore segment of this video. Yeah, so welcome to friggin' Mother Russia, baby, where the Soviet Union and or the USSR won World War II, and Russia then proceeded to smoke the biggest joint of methamphetamine the world has ever seen, and became a global superpower in about 15 seconds flat. It's 1955, General Motors is making some bangin' automobiles, Americans are being American, and the world is generally pretty happy. None of that matters though, because we're at our home base, a Facility 3826, where science, equity, and fraternity are all the main symbols of freedom. Yeah, not that American bullcrap, no, this is it right here. People have these thought devices that go on your head. It allows you to talk great distances, talk while you're dead for some time, and use it to control robots that are part of the collective neural network, which you can kind of think of like a mobile hotspot that people and robots can join and use. Unfortunately, behind the scenes, some terrorists known as the Russian Mafia are planning to ruin Collective in the lead up to and during the upcoming launch of Collective 2.0, as it basically will make humans lose their autonomy and let the master of it all, Dr. Sechenov, use their bodies while sending their brain permanently to limbo. People can't remove these thought devices either, as polymer injections are confusing their brains to think they can, but in reality they can't. Sounds like several people that I know. Regardless, as a response for saying that Collective 2.0 is a bit gay, they turned all of the civilian robots against humankind in an attempt to wipe humans out before Collective 2.0 could launch. Now it's up to this investigator named P3 to solve this problem, with the original intent being to stop the Russian Mafia by going all across the ground below. Yes, I know that we're in the sky, but this ain't Tears of the Kingdom, alright? And chase said Mafia members down to please his master that saved his life once. But towards the end of the game, finding out that all of this was a waste of time, and that a much more sinister plot was being developed right under our nose. Okay, I think we're good. I love the choice of difficulties that this game presents to you. It's not like it's easy, normal, and hard. No, it's instead Peaceful Atom, Local Malfunction, and Armageddon. That's how you know that the people that made this game have no sense of what a difficulty is. What's next after Armageddon, I wonder? Perhaps nuclear? Welcome to a boat tour of Facility 3826, which from this angle kind of looks more like a river in Venice or Paris, so I think they forgot that we were in Russia's new and improved skyline. Bear in mind that we are in the 1950s, and yet technology has advanced far enough to make it seem like we're at least 100 years beyond what you would normally expect this stuff to be at, much like how most sci-fi games try to go for. So that begs the question, just how advanced is this world if all this stuff is happening? Just saying. We get off the boat to explore the town, or city, or whatever you want to call it, and even chat with a local businessman, trying to sell more thought devices to the public, so that he can make up the money that he lost thanks to his ex-wife. We finally confirm that this is an actual city, but they never actually call it a city, just by Facility 3826, and not Chelome City. Pick a lane, devs. These robots are also going to give me nightmares. We gain a scanner moments later to scan for loot and heat signatures for enemies. It's quite useful, mainly so that I can scan for your mom and slide into her DMs. I'm not sorry for the joke. I'm gonna give the Russians a point here, because their presentation is at least on point. Better than the US of A, am I right? This room feels like a boss room. I sure hope I don't get punted by a sexy beast in here later. Holy crow, there's hot babes. Hey, can I get your autograph? Don't pump me into outer space, please. We now get into what kind of looks like a Ford Thunderbird, except it's not a Ford, because it's Russian, so that would be DMCA, so it's actually a Dorf, and take a several minute long ride from the skies to the ground below. We get a pretty awesome tour of the map that we'll be playing in here as well, before suddenly crash landing after realizing that P3 had to take a massive shiz thanks to his Taco Bell from earlier. He had to release it somewhere, alright? Some female robot tries to help us out moments later, but then succumbs to the horrors of the fact that only a small percentage of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. It's completely free, and you can always change your mind. But you shouldn't. We awake moments later to get into the first real bit of gameplay with weapons. Oh, right, I should probably go over this in depth. Combat-wise, this game has its fair share of melee weapons, and actual guns that the player can use. If anything, the variety of weapons reminds me a lot of Back 4 Blood, with a good mix of everything that you'd want for what basically is a zombie apocalypse but with robots. The variety is rather small, with roughly a dozen weapons to choose from, but what is provided is quite good. You'll also want to be collecting as much trash pieces as you can, as you'll need them to not only craft new weapons, but to also upgrade your weapons. You can also craft consumables, like health items, as well as elemental cartridges, which you can equip onto weapons through special effects, like set your enemies on fire, freeze them, or shock them. Think of this kind of like those special ammo crates from the Left 4 Dead series. It's the same sort of concept. The best part about these trash pieces is that you get them from pretty much anything that drops loot in the game, whether this be chests, enemies, quest rewards, etc., so you'll never really have to worry about farming this stuff for extensive periods of time. Upgrades for weapons can be found in the testing grounds that you'll see around the map, and you'll need to find the entrances to these by opening an entrance through security cameras. These areas are quite literally literal dungeons, in which you complete various puzzles to get 3 different chests that show the Running Man cant in 4K, which rewards you with blueprints and attachments for your weapons. There's only 8 of these in total, and as long as you're exploring decently well, you probably aren't going to miss these. Not to mention that all of them are already marked on the map. Take it from me, I only missed one of them in my playthrough. I really do like these testing grounds, as you'll find that they aren't really combat related at all. It requires you to use the game's tools and items to solve things that you may not encounter in the world that often. It's a nice added flavor to the game, and it helps encourage exploration, and above all else, it's genuinely rewarding. You can also get items that can be used to upgrade your thought device and give it new abilities, such as a polymer jet, which shoots goop at enemies and makes them wet, or maybe a polymer shield, or as I call it, a shield of sussy fluid, which shields yourself from attacks for a short time. How about telekinesis, which can launch enemies into the air like you're flipping Darth Vader, or maybe a frost ability to freeze your enemies in place. There are skill trees for all of this, and they can be unlocked however you want, each buffing your abilities and skills. Altogether, the upgrade and crafting system in Atomic Heart is simple and straight to the point, with no BS thrown in to make it feel off-putting. It's honestly nice to know that you can focus on the game and not really have to worry too much about upgrading your items, as you'll passively be gaining all of the materials that you need to craft them. Regardless, that's pretty much the biggest thing gameplay-wise related with this game that you'll need to know. So let's get back into the action. Moments later, we arrive at a farmhouse and attempt to go drop a fat one again, but this time get stopped by your boy NPC Man. Luckily, the old lady that comes completely out of nowhere comes to save the day, and she helps us get to safety after the baddies show up. We now end up underground in the depths and witness this guy die on the spot, loot many rooms with the hand of God, and then lockpick this door. I quickly learned that lockpicking a door with a mouse is worse than a controller. I hope you got a big mouse pad, otherwise you're screwed. A literal big chode destroys the floor and roof around us, and we get knocked out to then wake up and try to save him, only for them all to die, except for one, but that's a story for later. We kill the extremely basic boss, unlock this door by timing some mouse clicks, and then meet...
What the fuck? Fuck me!
How about new?
A talking upgrade machine that, for whatever reason, decides to speak in sexual talk. Well, I mean, it's not a pretty anime chick, but this is about as close I'm gonna get, so it could be worse. Regardless, we continue through whatever this place is, looting various items while skidding El Ratio to do some wall puzzles, commit no mep, and have a Mario Kart-style race and dodge event with these bumper cars. Don't worry though, because they have saw blades on them, so it'll be over soon. I swim through polymer, otherwise known as that one white substance, unlock another door, and ride a bumper car only to then have the famous book of things that must happen in video games strike, and cause it to break. I don't have good luck. We later get a cutscene with our boy Victor Petrov, and as per the book of things that must occur in video games, Petrov manages to get away through the use of robots. Lots more exploring continues, until I get a container with a plant in it. It turns out that there are several of these that I need to collect, so here's a brief montage of getting the other containers.
Rattle 'em, boys! Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! Shit! Not like that! That won't kill it! Die, you prick! What the fuck? You picked the wrong house, fool!
Now equipped with an electric version of, as Uber Danger calls it, a thumping gat, we're back on the surface, to which we get introduced to drones that will repair dead robots, and flowers that will signal other robots to attack you if you piss them off. The hawk, trademark, also helps to punch your face in, by basically telling the robots where you are. I hope you don't like privacy, because you're not getting it. I gotta install a VPN just to avoid this thing. Meet the Valan. You'll come up here occasionally to look at cameras, which is one of the ways that you open those testing grounds that I mentioned earlier. I explored the village for a while, but eventually went up to the hill to go see Granny Xena and her flying house ripped straight from up. Another cutscene drops to see that some people are kind of pissed off about this whole attacking robot situation, and they rightfully should be, as no one is really doing anything at all to stop it. We return to the village moments later to use the Valan to hack the village gates and open them so we can leave. I then chose to, for some reason, not to drive a car during this next part, and instead traveled by foot to Lesnaya Station, looting as I went and, you know, doing what video games expect you to do. That being to explore the world that some people in an office spent like half a decade making for hundreds of thousands of people to walk in for 30 hours and call it quits. We later get told that in order to use the train, we gotta get a ticket. Okay, not that difficult, just gotta ask the dead people on the ground if I could rob them of their ticket to get out of here. You are right! You were expecting to say wrong, weren't you? We return to the train only to confirm that this robot would have let us on before. He just decided to run it through his brain that we were with law enforcement after we left the train. You can imagine how mad our protagonist was.
Wow, we just witnessed a real miracle of science.
As per usual, once again, the book of things that must occur in video games strikes again, and the train derails, and somehow, this Giga Chad of a protagonist survives this. Our buddy Stockhausen shows up to do the typical exposition on the main guy bit, and then we get told to head to the exhibition. Not suspicious at all. This is the part where you actually get to start doing some of those testing ground levels, and I'm not going to show all of them, but I will show some snippets of the first testing ground so that you can at least get a grasp of what they look like. Now let's head into what looks to be an arena. I sure hope this isn't going to go badly whatsoever. Nope.
Shit, would you look at that? It's that thing again.
Be careful. Our 7 units are quite dangerous.
Holy shiz, it's a rolling ball of doom. I must have rolled a natural 1, because I'm about to get freaking bodied.
Come here!
Finally awake.
Welcome to the first actual boss fight of the game. I can't believe it took 5 hours to get to it. This fight's got a few things going on that you'll need to look out for, such as jumping over this wave, dodging the rolling fist, getting anal blasted by bullets, lots of bullets, and of course, dodging the big suck. This guy moves pretty quick, and keeping up with his roly-poly looking bum can be quite the task. So my best recommendation would be to turn up your sensitivity just a little bit, as well as clenching your cheeks. And hard. May want to get a bag in case the sensitivity is too high. You may vomit. You're probably going to need all of this regardless, otherwise you will no mep like I did. To kill this guy, you obviously need to shoot him. That's not obvious. Holy crow, exciting, I know. But you want to shoot the exposed gears that he has, which will deal more damage. Otherwise, you're basically just throwing bullets at him and seeing if it sticks or not, which, considering that he's made of metal, they're not all going to stick. This fight is actually really good for being the first proper fight of the game, and quite frankly, all of the player's skills are put to the test in different ways, which really surprised me for being a first boss. Regardless, let's send this 20-sided dice fear thing back to the Shadowlands so that I don't get run over by Critical Role's Matt Mercer for rolling a natural 1 directly in his face.
Was that a civilian robot? For real, that thing. A civilian robot.
You tell me, Major. You have far more experience with combat robots than I do.
I do? I mean, shit, I do.
We get a small celebration for our efforts from like 20 seconds ago, and then we try to open this door, but fail. So naturally, it's back underground to do even more puzzles. This time, focusing more on shock puzzles, similar to that of how the testing ground stages are. In this episode of Solve the Dang Problem, Tereshkova wants us to find her arm. Why would I help a robot? The only thing it's gonna do is send my channel into the Shadow Realm, just like YouTube's robots do. Once we do find her arm, we enter a nicely lit room, to then have to do the Darwin test, to prove that we're actually human. You gotta be joking, right? So we do her test, yada yada yada, but guess what? Now, in order to initiate a drill over the entire facility, P3 needs to help Tereshkova find and fix her other friend, Claire. To do this, we'll need to traverse the entire exhibit center to find Claire's parts. You know, I'm starting to hate AI even more because of this game, but I can't hate them for the anime and IRL girls they make, so I can't hate them at all. Anyways, here's a montage of running through the next objective, that being the White, the Screams, and the Warehouse.
Hello everybody, my name is Motha.
How you doing?
Check this fucking shit out.
Time for me to cut in and introduce the second boss, enemy of the game. Meet... what the F is his name? A big, fast-moving neuropolymer who can also be called a big hairy, sweaty man, but without the hair or sweat. This mob can only take damage using melee attacks, making these things perfect target dummies in CSGO. So, knife only? Anyway, we fix Claire, put the facility into a drill, and another cutscene occurs. This time, the boys have shown up to assess the situation, and Commander Molotov is kinda pissed. He demands that he will be here tomorrow for an inspection, and that Sechenov is the prime target for said inspection. Sounds like every Monday for me. Shortly after, something breaks into the room, and we fade to white. Shortly after, again, we enter a dream state of sorts, to quickly realize that I'm actually a furry. Jesus Christ, even people in Cyprus know about furries. When they were smoking grass, we're all screwed. Whilst being doped on crack, I ate several apples. Don't worry, there's still some for you. And we return to the present to learn that something just killed everybody in the room. We then witness the hot babes of the video game do some kind of ritualistic dance as one stabs the other, whips out a key that turns into 2 keys, and then summon Tentacle Jesus to then eat the corpse of Commander Molotov. I'm sorry, but what? We now make haste to find the guy that's now broadcasting to the entire world. But let's skip ahead, because I did some testing grounds on the way. I had an encounter with what I'm going to call the children from Maxor's basement, because these things just won't die. They all run around like they're high on crack, and clearly, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, have you seen a Maxor video recently? Anyways, we later find Petrov and his girlfriend at the computational center, to then learn that Petrov hadn't actually told his best-in-slot GF any of the things that he has done. So a breakup happens live during a pretty laggy cutscene. Look, I need better hardware, okay? Petrov YOLOs out, and now we gotta go find him. More testing grounds would ensue, and we would later arrive at a theater. Does this really look like a theater? I'll leave it up to you. Equipped with elemental cartridges and now a flippin' AK-47, I stepped in preparing for the worst.
Ah, crispy critters. An overgrown dumpling like that almost burned me down back in Forrester Village.
You're now fully on, Comrade Major. We won't be able to enter the theater as long as the Bellyash is guarding the entrance.
And oh boy was I right.
Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! Oh, what the fuck?
Nope.
Welcome to the second boss of the game, the 27th installment of the casualties of the Bite of 87. This boss, much like the last one, loves to move around, and fast. He also really likes to slap you across the face for failing to notice his previously mentioned bites. MatPat is gonna have a look over this one, boys. I think that this might be the 6th bite victim from FNAF 37. He breathes fire, because all children clearly do this, and that laser that you gotta jump over is back as well. This guy is mostly just a run and shoot kind of fight, but do prioritize the head, because if Zombieland taught me anything, it's that you always aim for the head. Make sure you do that twice for double tap. Let's just get this child out of the way, because I don't want to have another MatPat video explaining how this mother duck got bit via Scott Cawthon's Wonderful World of Horror. And let's be honest, I think MatPat is tired of doing them. We make haste into the underground again. I'm starting to see a trend here. This time we're in what I'm going to guess is the best theater that Russia could offer to its citizens, which isn't really saying much because I mean their lives kind of suck anyway. So this place is also overrun by a mutated plant virus, so I hope you like bugs. I sure don't. Petrov also seems to be slowly going insane after his breakup with his GF. I mean, that feeling hurts, bro, but it could be worse. You could be breaking up with your waifu after she agreed to do the business, and then Dio shows up and yoinks her. Trust me, it could be worse. After killing the second of third this guy, yes, there's a third one later, we later have to find the electrician to open a locked door. Apparently he was eyeing up one of the hot babe robots to simp for. At least he's better than a Pokemon simp, am I right? Anyway, we talk to him, unlock the door, and then to progress, we have to let this ballerina do her entire performance. The only thing that makes this better is the music, so here's a snippet of that.
Boring! You're boring, everybody! Quit boring everyone!
Let me show you.
After finishing the second most dramatic performance in Russian history, just behind their battle with Ukraine, we then do another puzzle by lining up these ballerinas to imitate death poses. I feel like the game is trying to foreshadow something to me, like my downfall. Now, however, it's time to finally put an end to Petrov, so I decide to prep again and head into the theater again. Petrov then puts on quite the show for us, proceeds to kill himself on the spot, and then Sechenov sends a special crate to put his head into. You know, I actually wanted to shoot him, game. Why couldn't you let me do that?
It is my great pleasure to present to you the lovely
Oh boy, this can only end bad. Also, wait a minute, is that Nakado Avocado in the robotic flesh?
Get over here!
Watch out! Watch out! Watch out!
Welcome to the third boss. Apparently the devs recently watched a playthrough of 6 and thought, what if we put Baymax into the game? And I guess that they thought no one would notice. Well, I did. This fight is actually different than the last two. The only similarity is that it's still painted military green, and the projectile bullets are still in full force. Try a different color, would you, for once? Maybe a pink, or I don't know, maybe non-existent gray. Natasha shoots bullets as often as my upload schedule if I Uno reverse carded it. She slams her wire arm to try to make you into a pancake, jumps around slower but crashes down harder than Freight Train on Semi, and her real goal is to break the stage in half. I'm surprised that she hasn't done this yet, considering she's the robotic female version of Nikado Avocado. And she definitely weighs more, cause, I mean, metal. She also does a lasso-like attack as well, proving that she may or may not be from Texas.
Hell yeah, brother.
Even so, this isn't accurate, because she doesn't have a double-barrel shotgun on her back for when someone tells her that she's not an illegal redneck. This fight is probably the easiest in the game, surprisingly, and it's honestly kind of a shame, because I wish this fight actually had two phases. One where the stage actually broke, as it would have made it much more exciting. Regardless, let's end this fat hunk of military green Texas metal so that we can go extract the secrets from Petrov's brain via neuropolymer.
Fuck. Comrade Major, you... Not now. Let's just not talk for a while, okay?
Sergey.
We're now heading to the last major area on the map, the infirmary, to get myself fixed for the pain that I've endured. Another 2 testing grounds will be done while we're heading to the infirmary, and we'll go across a makeshift Golden Gate Bridge. It is here that we will fight the final one of the red guy. You know, it's cool that they use his enemy as an overworld boss, but you could have at least changed him slightly, don't you think? Oh, by the way, I lied, because there's a 4th one. We arrive at a broken bridge and take on an alternate path to get to the infirmary. We now enter the Pavlov Complex lab, where animals that will live on other planets are made. Yes, remember how I said that this game is set in 1955? How do humans do this during the 50s? I don't know, you tell me. This place is overrun with more mutated zombies, I guess, and this segment is mostly just killing enemies and exploring. Continuing to explore my personal favorite area of the game, we enter a room with neuropolymer in a stasis-like state. It can't move, but it does make for some strange art to say the least. I didn't know that Link just rolled through here with both Ultra Hand and Recall, but hey, the kid can do some pretty cool stuff, am I right? Anyways, we head into the lab and get another lengthy cutscene, in which Petrov's ex-girlfriend shadow bombs us while we're trying to talk about adult things. The red version of that one white substance then eats our partner in crime, and we re-enter that dreamscape from like 20 minutes ago, starring my furry self. Lots of parkouring later, we return to the present to a bloody mess of a room, and leave to return to the beach. What? I'm not entirely sure what I was expecting, but hey, I'll take it. Immediately after, however, we are met with a dead whale. Okay, I'll just go around and, you know.
That crazy-ass pump thing killed that whale.
Okay, never mind, I'm not going around. Bye, bitch!
What the f***, okay?
Welcome to the 4th boss. It's the Eye of Sauron with spider legs. Kind of reminds me of that one boss from Tears of the Kingdom, to be honest. Better start running, because this thing is going to be fire. I say that only because Sauron's main attack is fire, so I hope you got some water on you. It's definitely not everywhere right now. This guy fires one laser that honestly gets too close for comfort, and it scares me. He also loves to move, so much so that he's trying not to be on camera, and it sucks. Since he has legs, though, you can at least slash at his legs and ruin his day. Seriously, why does this guy behave like a guardian from Breath of the Wild? It only got gross once his guts came out of the center. Now that's messed up. Altogether, this fight is actually pretty simple, providing that you're good at dodging, which is its main gimmick. I'm surprised that this fight is actually towards the end of the game, as there's only about an hour left of the game at this point, making this guy the second to last boss, but he sure as heck doesn't feel like one. This fight feels like an afterthought by the devs, which is a shame because, I mean, you could have done so much more with this fight. I mean, you're near water for crying out loud. Think of the opportunities you had there. Regardless, let's cut his limbs off and leave so that we can find this chick from a few minutes ago and question her theories. Her game theories. Thanks for watching. Just kidding.
Die, bitch!
I threw these rings away because I guess they were important to the story somehow and I wasn't paying attention, and we continue to learn that Sechenov can actually get these robots out of combat mode, which is a good news. However, what's coming up here soon is not good news. We explore this lighthouse to then fall into what P3 puts it as Neptune. What? Son, I'm pretty sure this ain't Neptune. We then speak to the doctor herself and go into a pretty lengthy cutscene. And it's here that we learn that Collective is capable of ripping a person's autonomy away from them, while still keeping their memories, attributes, and other things attached to them. This is how their minds go into limbo, and their master can do whatever they want with them after this is complete. This is Sechenov's true plan with Collective 2.0, and this is what Petrov and the Russian Mafia were trying to stop, but we ended up stopping what was right. Now I feel like a jerk. We then take a walk whilst experiencing some episodes of hopium, and then learn that something is wrong with both our head and our thought device.
Oh no.
We enter what looks to be the Area 51 meeting room to see lots of computers and a big screen. We proceed to gather some tapes to look back at P3's past, and the TLDR here basically is, he was brainwashed. Like, really bad. He lost his wife and lost his Riz in the process, and he also had implanted thoughts and hallucinations put into his brain that were 100% fake, which, bear in mind, his brain was already extremely damaged, so you can imagine what that did to him. He also has tendencies to have random bursts of rage, and is considered dangerous to everyone, so he's Michael Reeves, got it. P3's brain can also slip into limbo randomly as well. Sechenov is also using him to get what he wants.
I don't like where this is going.
And his thought device actually belonged to a previous scientist who
Are
helped
you
develop
kidding
Collective,
me?
and is thus still linked with it. That's a lot of information to take in, so here's the layman term explanation of it. He's cracked and is down bad. Regardless, P3 has quite frankly had enough of this and wants some answers, so we decide to leave through this elevator. And then have a rage episode in the elevator, thanks to another strike from the book of things that must happen in video games. We go through another furry space adventure and awake at Granny's, with the ex-GF of Petrov now dead thanks to a GigaChat explosion. We also learn that Granny Xena is the mother of P3's now deceased wife. Man, lots of plot drops in this last section, like holy crow. We make the call to head to Sechenov's office to get some answers and stop the launch of Collective 2.0. I load up with the best items I have, fully upgraded weapons and extra health, and head back to Chelome City for the first time since the beginning of the game. Let's just hope that everything goes well, otherwise I might actually commit no map IRL. You're telling me that I have to kill the hot babe? How could you make me do this?
No idea how right you...
Oh, what the fuck?
This fight is actually pretty crazy. If you thought that the first few bosses moved quickly, then this one's gonna make those look like a flippin' snail. Otherwise, this fight isn't actually that technical. It's more just a tank and spank. Just spam hits, shoot and dodge some frontals, and that's basically it. After finishing this fight, I do one last check for items and head into Sechenov's office, to be greeted with another cutscene. And now we're good to face the final boss of the game, the Hot Babe Twins.
Punch!
This fight is basically a combination of all of the previous fights, except one of them just can't be touched because she's airborne the whole time.
That guy is fucking cheating!
Also, nail the quick time event, otherwise the fight doesn't start. Bad design. No idea what they actually do to P3 after he dies. If you fail this, I'd imagine they just stuff him. Wait, that sounds bad. The left babe that we fought a moment ago is still mostly the same. The exception now is that she shoots lasers. Right babe also shoots lasers, and both of them now shoot polymer to hurt me. It's a pretty hectic fight with lots going on all the time. The final phase is also just a big laser phase, because I mean, the game's gotta flex on its lasers somehow. This fight is a cool fight, but I was just hoping for a little something more, something extra, that's all. Another note is that you don't need to kill both of these guys separately, you only need to kill one of them for the fight to end. Regardless, the fight's over, and we get our final cutscene, to which we learn that, and get ready for this, Sheridan, our thought device, is the actual villain here. And Sechenov is the good guy.
Oh, you got to be fucking with me.
Sheridan gets out of our glove, moves to the neuropolymer in a nearby tub, and reawakens as the new and improved that one white substance, but it's red, otherwise known as Ganondorf. He then proceeds to assault a feline cat and then kills Sechenov. We also die as well, and Sheridan destroys Collective. I mean, we at least got to stay with the hot babes, so I mean, that's good, right? But also, what? This is actually the good ending of Atomic Heart, believe it or not.
You serious?
The bad ending is just P3 saying, yeah, screw this, I'm out, and he just dips and the game rolls credits. So, yeah, I think they got the good ending. After this, you can either reload to fight the twins again, or reload to Facility 3826 to get those testing grounds, loose upgrades, and weapons that you might have forgotten to get. Otherwise, though, that's basically the entirety of Atomic Heart. So, what are my final thoughts? Story-wise, this game can be a bit confusing for someone who played it through like me. I think I explained it somewhat well, but if you want a more detailed description, I'm sure there are videos out there to watch for those who may have just finished it and are like, what? Gameplay-wise, Atomic Heart feels like a solid FPS shooter with a solid blend of melee and ranged options for combat. The upgrade and crafting system is admittedly simple, but I think that's a good thing. It's not super over the top. Reagents needed to craft almost anything aren't hard to get, and everything is explained in detail so you know what's up right from the get-go. Games like this continue to prove that simplicity is the best in some cases, and I'm glad that Mundfish went for this approach. The music in this game, at least with streamer mode turned on, slaps pretty hard, with some classic tracks thrown in as well as some remixed versions. I honestly think this is a good showing of what a game can do when streamer mode is done right. Another great example of this that comes to mind is Hi-Fi Rush, as both it and this game do very well with their streamer mode soundtracks. The enemy variety is actually quite strong, with a great list of different enemies with various attacks to fight. I'm actually impressed that this was Mundfish's first game, and they handled mob variety surprisingly well. However, that is where the good things in my opinion stop. Let me be real before I go further. I actually really like this game, regardless of its flaws. It's a fun game that tried something different and a bit unique, and it worked out quite well. But with that being said, let me now dunk on this game for a few minutes. The testing grounds are a cool way to add collectibles into the game, and are exciting to find and conquer. They also add exploration to the game that would otherwise not be there if at all. However, they all do feel kinda the same. I just wish there was a bit more variety in them. Perhaps incorporate some of the puzzles seen in the main story, like the ballerina puzzle in the theater as an example. I mean, hell, reverse that and bring some of the testing ground levels into the real story, because that'd be dope as well. The map itself feels a little too small for my liking. Yes, I understand that most of the game takes place indoors and underground, but why is literally half of the surface map blocked off? If you're gonna show me a game map and have half of it be blocked off, then why bother showing me the map to begin with? Why is there only 8 testing grounds? And why are they randomly numbered? I feel like this game could have had a lot more side content, but I'll give it a pass as this is Mundfish's first title, and then they probably just want to test the waters out a little bit before going all out. The boss fights are admittedly pretty basic once you understand them, and many of their mechanics are copied over in some form from boss to boss. The same generally goes for appearances for some as well. I would have liked for the bosses to have a bit more unique and diverse mechanics, and refrain from making me feel like I'm just fighting the same boss but as a spastic child or a fat guy instead, with some minor changes and 1 to 2 new additions. One minor detail here as well are the cutscenes. They feel a bit rushed, and the voice acting job, not just for the cutscenes but for the entire game really, it just doesn't really hit right. It feels like these lines were sped up by the actors and not really given a look over that well. It's nothing insane though, but it's a minor detail that should be addressed. I want to remind everybody that this game released back in February of this year, so it's only 6 months old. There is still a lot of room for improvement after launch, and we're already seeing some of that improvement with the announcement that yes, Atomic Heart is getting paid DLC in the future, which just dropped within the last few weeks. It brought with it some new weapons to the game, a new area to explore, and our story continues, with us learning about the origins of Nora, you know, that talking sexy upgrade machine familiar? Oh, that's gonna be fun. The developers have also confirmed that a sequel for Atomic Heart is also in the works, but considering that this game took half a decade to make, it's probably gonna be a long time before we hear anything about it. So, Mundfish, good job on making a rock-solid first game, and I hope to see what your team can do with Atomic Heart in the future. I hope that the DLC goes well too, as I'll probably play it at some point in the future. Maybe I'll make it its own video. Like the video if you want that. As this video is being done before the DLC comes out on August 2nd, so that's why the DLC is not included in this video. If you haven't played Atomic Heart yet, it's currently on Game Pass, and I urge you to give it a shot, as this game is honestly a small hidden gem of a game that deserves so much more attention. But with that, sadly, it's time to end. My name is PandaPowerSauce, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.